You're so emotional. I laugh when people call each other emotional. I want to ask which emotion, because there are like 24 of them. Do you even know which aspect of emotional you're talking about? Let's bring in Merriam-Webster College Dictionary and Rogers Thesaurus. Both references give us synonyms for emotional, along with the definition, and there are some very pleasant ones. If we're emotional, Webster and Rogers says that we're also conscious, perceptive, passionate, responsive, sensitive, and sensible. Those are very nice things to be. However, both references go on to call us susceptible, vehement, dramatic, hysterical, histrionic, and perturbed. That's not so nice. Yet look at emotions antonyms, its opposites: indifference, unconcern, apathy, dispassion, calm, repose, at peace, and stillness. Those are all synonyms for social disconnection. 3 of them are even synonyms for death. To be emotionless is to be disconnected, indifferent, and basically unavailable for relationships. The state of being emotionless is not something to celebrate. Emotions are necessary, even when they're uncomfortable or socially inappropriate, because they are a part of your psyche, a part of your neural network, a part of your socialization, and a part of your humanity. Emotions aren't the enemy, but they have come to be vilified because empathetic awareness is so unusual. In a culture that swings from trampling the emotions one moment to glorifying them the next, it's savvy to turn down our empathetic skills. The whole subject is rife with peril and confusion. It's easier to make fun of a crying man or shame an angry woman than it is to support their socially unacceptable emotions. It's also easier to pretend that we didn't get hurt by someone's insensitivity. It's easier to hide our honest emotions and shun them in other people. The only problem is that we truly need our emotions. We can't live functional lives without them. Without our emotions, we can't make decisions. We can't decipher our dreams and visions. We can't set proper boundaries or behave skillfully in relationships. We can't identify our hopes or support the hopes of others. And we can't connect to or even find our dearest loves. Without access to our emotional selves, we grow in this culture like trees in the wrong soil, becoming tall but not strong, and old but not mature. Our emotional awareness goes underground in childhood, and we turn toward every other kind of development: physical, scholastic, artistic, financial, intellectual, religious, or athletic. We become knowledgeable and functional in every area but one. Because we turn away from our emotions by the time we're 5 or so, our understanding of them tends to stay at that level of development. We don't grow up as emotive people. We grow up as people who learn not to emote. We have a retroactive learning curve. As our intellectual skills come forward, our emotions move backward. Many current therapies, meditation systems, books, and teachers are trying to remedy this glaring inequality, and much good work is being accomplished. Daniel Goleman's seminal work, Emotional Intelligence, is a must-read. The emotions are being brought into a better light, and self-awareness is becoming more fashionable. Some of us are learning to listen to one another more carefully, to reflect one another's emotions properly, and support each other skillfully. But in most cases, the emotions are still being alternately demonized and exalted. The emotions are not being treated as important and distinct forces with which we can change our lives. The emotions are not being honored as the brilliant messengers they are. Before we go any further, I want you to understand that I am not advocating an underground descent into the emotions, an emotional orgy for emotion's sake. That's not what empathetic work is about. When people think about emotions, they often freeze up and don't process information properly. When I talk of honoring the emotions, I don't mean for us to prostrate ourselves in front of their temple. We don't want to swing from vilifying the emotions to glorifying them, because both positions are inappropriate. Both positions objectify the emotions as unconnected good or bad things that happen to us, rather than as tools of our greatest humanity and evolution. Empathetic work teaches us to find the middle ground between vilification and glorification of the emotions, and between expressing and repressing them. When we can see all of our emotions as vital tools, we can invite them to a conscious and supportive dialogue. When we can treat our emotions as essential aspects of ourselves, as our native language, we'll begin to understand that there is an honorable way to work with our emotions and an honorable way to think about them. When we approach the emotions honorably, we won't banish certain emotions to the underworld. We will instead seek a middle ground where all emotions can exist and work properly. Expression, repression, and the middle ground. When we express our emotions, we hand them over to the outside world, where we hope they'll be noticed, honored, and transformed. Emotional expression relies on the outer world to decipher our emotions. While this expression of true feelings can be healthy at times, it isn't always the best way to work with our emotions. Emotional expression can make us dependent upon external action, books, friends, family, or therapists for emotional relief. If these external supports are not available to us, we might not be able to process our feelings because our emotional skills would depend on things or people outside of ourselves. Many of us have encountered this difficulty when we're overtaken by, say, anger or depression and have no one to talk to. If we don't have internal emotional skills, we can feel trapped in our emotional states, unable to moderate or even understand our moods unless someone or something outside of us is available. The other choice is this either or system of emotional management is to repress our emotions. When we repress our emotions, we hand them off to the inner world, where we hope they'll disappear, transform themselves, or maybe come up again at a better time, whenever that might be. Repression is the only internal emotional management skill most of us have. If we can't express emotions safely or masterfully, we'll stuff them down into our psyches. Emotional repression relies on the unconscious interior world and often on our bodies to accept and do something with our emotions. When we repress a very unwelcome emotion, like sadness or rage, we press it inward. We count to 10, we think happy thoughts, or repeat a cherished phrase. We don't know what to do with the inconvenient, embarrassing, or dangerous feeling. We just want to wipe the slate clean and go on with our day. The problem with repression is that the inner world is where emotions come from. Shoving the emotions back where they came from without consciously processing them creates an unpleasant short circuit in the psyche. Emotions are messages from our instinctive selves. They can be important carriers of absolute and often unwanted truth. Although many emotions aren't welcome in most psyches, each of them has indispensable function and something meaningful and precise to say. If we ignore and repress an emotion, we won't erase its message. We'll just shoot the messenger and interfere with an important natural process. The unconscious then has two choices: to increase the intensity of the emotion and present it to us one more time. This is how unresolving moods or escalating emotional suffering may be activated, or to give up on us and stuff the emotional energy deep into our psyches. Now the instinct has Now the instinct will no longer be readable as itself as fear or anger or despair, but it will still contain all its original intensity and information. Usually this squelched intensity mutates into something else, like tics, compulsions, psychosomatic illness, addictions, or neurosis. Repressing our emotions is a perilous way to manage them. Expressing our emotions is somewhat better than repressing them. At the very least, it allows the flow of honesty in our lives. If we're out there crying or raging or whatever, at least we're letting our emotions flow. However, if our emotions are very strong, expressing them can create both interior and exterior turmoil. Exterior turmoil comes about when we pour our strong emotions all over some unfortunate soul and try and make him or her responsible for our moods. We'll say, "You made me angry, you made me cry," and in doing, we'll not only hurt that person, but will give him or her control over our emotional state. We won't be active, responsible individuals. We'll be powerless marionettes, jerking and dancing in reaction to the people and situations around us. Interior turmoil arises when we realize that we may have hurt, degraded, or frightened someone with our many outbursts. We'll feel some sense of release with the expression of our strong emotion, but we'll be disappointed about our poor relating skills or ashamed about our lack of control. Expressing strong emotions at others can damage our ego structure, and our sense of self-esteem. Then our lowered self-esteem tends to make us less able to manage our emotions properly the next time, and we tend to slide into an almost uncontrollable habit of flinging our strong emotions all over the place. We become trapped in a cycle of attacks and retreats, enmeshment and isolation, and the explosions and apologies. Our internal checks and balances seem to get broken, and we become emotionally volatile. Current neurological and psychological research is also showing that constantly expressing strong emotions tends to wear a groove in your brain. If you let loose with rage or anxiety, your brain will begin to learn how to rage and become anxious. Therefore, the next time you meet a possibly enraging or anxiety-producing situation, your brain may move to rage or anxiety simply because you taught it to. The plasticity of your brain doesn't just apply to learning new skills or new languages, it also applies to learning how to manage your emotions. Both repression and expression can be helpful to us in certain situations, but they cannot between them address every emotional situation we encounter. Take repression, for instance. When we're infuriated at a baby, repressing the fury is a good idea. It's never right to express fury toward a baby. But once we repressed the fury and made the baby safe, we need to be able to address that fury in private, or it will rear its head once again, perhaps with more energy the next time. Because here's the situation: emotions are always true, they always tell the truth about how we're actually feeling. But they may not always be right or appropriate in each situation. Therefore, we have to learn how to understand, interpret, and work with them. And we must find the middle path between repression and improper expression. We must learn to honor and attend to our emotions in a deeper, more mature, and more involved way. We must learn not to work against the emotions with repression or for the emotions with incompetent expression. We must learn to work with our emotions. There is a middle ground in the emotional landscape. There is a way to work with emotions in a respectful and honorable way. I call the process channeling the emotions. By which I don't mean to suggest some metaphysical idea of calling forth disembodied spirits. I'm referring to the actual meaning of the word channel, which is to direct or convey something along a chosen pathway in a conscientious manner. If we learn to properly channel our emotions, we can begin to work with them in vibrant and ingenious ways. We can interpret the messages our emotions carry and make use of the instincts our emotions contain. The 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 handoff we do with emotional expression, that handoff to the outer world, doesn't bestow any skills upon us. Likewise, the handoff we do with repression, when we shove our emotions back into the inner world, makes us even less skilled. Neither approach works because neither one accepts emotions as important and useful messengers that help us learn and evolve. When we stop handing off our emotions and instead learn to channel them honorably, we can take our emotions into our own hands. We can listen to them, feel them consciously, and express them in ways that will bolster our self image and our relationship rather than tearing them down. When you can channel your emotions, you'll discover something most people don't know, which is that each of your emotions contain vital skills and abilities that help you survive and thrive. Your emotions don't disappear when you're not feeling them. Instead, each of your emotions moves through you at all times, and each one endows you with specific gifts and abilities. Let me show you what I mean. Alright, here's 3 empathetic exercises. I'd like you to have a tangible experience of the empathetic work we'll be doing so that you can see how easy and comfortable it is to channel your emotions. Let's start with a simple flow-inducing exercise. You can be sitting, standing, or lying down. Exercise 1. Please take a deep breath and fill up your chest and your belly so that you feel a little bit of tension. Not too much, just a little. Hold your breath for a few seconds. Count to 3. And as you breathe out, make a small, gentle spiraling movement with your hands, your arms, your feet, your legs, your neck, and your torso. Move your body in gentle, easy, relaxing ways. Now breathe in again. Expand your chest and your belly until you feel a little bit of tension. Hold for 3 seconds and breathe out with a sigh as you spiral your arms and your legs and your neck. You can even hang your tongue out. Just let go. You're a rag doll. Let it go. Now breathe normally and check in with yourself. If you feel a bit softer and calmer, and maybe even a little bit tired, thank the emotion that helped you release some of your tension and restore some of your flow. Thank your sadness. That's what healthy, flowing sadness feels like. And that's what it does. It helps you let go. It helps you bring some flow back to your system. Each of the emotions has this free flowing state and brings you specific gifts and tools. We've learned to identify emotions only when they move to an obvious mood state, but that's not all they are. You don't have to cry to be sad. You can just let go. Sadness is about releasing things and relaxing into yourself. Take a moment to notice how aware you are of your body. Sadness is an internal emotion that brings you back to yourself, makes you aware of your interior state. And that's why we tend to avoid sadness in our everyday lives. It's not the right emotion to walk around with all the time because it doesn't protect your boundaries and it doesn't make you focused and ready for action. That's not its job. It's not supposed to do those things. Sadness brings flow back to you. It calms you and it helps you release uncomfortable things you've been grasping onto, like muscle tension, fatigue, lost hopes, or disappointments. Sadness helps you let go of things that aren't working anyway. It's important to use the skills your sadness brings you because it's necessary to let go regularly, before everything piles up into identifiable emotional distress, muscle pain, or misery. Maintaining your flow and letting go is an easy thing to do now that you know what sadness feels like. Whenever you need to, you can consciously welcome your sadness and restore its sense of flow to your life by breathing in, gathering any tension, then breathing out gently as you make spiraling movements with your body. Shake yourself off, shimmy, yawn, or sigh, maybe when no one else is around. It's that simple. To channel your sadness, you just relax and let go. Alright, exercise 2. Now let's try something different. Thank your sadness for helping you. Let go and relax and sit up straight. Open your eyes a bit and smile as if you're greeting a good friend. You can even say, "Hi." Stretch your arms out, stretch your torso. Keep smiling, keep your eyes open, and take a comfortable breath. And thank your happiness. Happiness is a momentary emotion that helps you identify things that are fun and rewarding. It's a good little rest stop in your soul, and you can bring it forward by opening your eyes and smiling. Your facial expressions and your emotions are tied together, and you can bring an emotion forward just by making the face. So be careful about the faces you make. Your brain may think that you're angry or sad or happy simply because your facial expressions say you are. When you smile, you can bring your happiness forward and share it. Happiness is a very good emotion to share with others if it's the right time to be happy. It's also an emotion that tends to arise naturally when you've done good work with some of your deeper emotions. For instance, when you've really cried yourself out, you'll often start laughing. Or if you've worked through intense conflict with someone, you'll both tend to laugh and smile a lot when it's done. Happiness is an excellent little rest stop. However, you shouldn't trap happiness or try to keep it active at all times because it doesn't contain all the skills you need to live a whole and happy life. You need all of your emotions. Exercise 3. Thank your happiness for bringing the fun, and let's try another empathetic exercise. For this one, you'll need a quiet place where you can sit or stand comfortably. When you've found your quiet place, lean your body forward a little bit and try and hear the quietest sound in your area. Keep your shoulders down and away from your ears. Good posture helps your hearing. You can also open your mouth a little. Relaxing your jaw creates more space in your ears. Gently move your head around as you pinpoint the quietest sound and filter out the more obvious ones. Keep your eyes open, but rely on your ears for now. When you've located this quiet sound, hold still for a moment. Stand up if you are sitting and try and locate the sound with your eyes. Then move toward it, recalibrating as you get near the sound. Time may seem to slow down somewhat. Your skin may feel more sensitive, almost as if it's sensing the air around you. And your mind may clear itself of anything that isn't related to your quiet sound. When you pinpoint the sound, thank the emotion that helped you find it. Thank your fear. Surprising, isn't it? Healthy and free-flowing fear is nothing more or less than your instincts and your intuition. When you need it to, your fear focuses you on all your senses. It scans your environment and your stored memories. It increases your ability to respond effectively or to new or changing situations. When your fear flows nicely, you'll feel focused, centered, capable, and agile. Thank your fear. Your free-flowing fear brings you instincts, intuition, and focus. If you can bring your fear forward when you're confused or upset, you can access the information you need to calmly figure out what's going on. You don't need to feel afraid to access the gifts your fear brings you. You can also access your fear when you're unsure about what you should do or when you're uncomfortable in your relationships. Fear helps you focus on your internal knowledge as it connects you to your surroundings, so it's different from sadness, which focuses you inside yourself and on what you need to release in order to relax and let go of things that don't serve you. With fear, your focus helps you stand upright in your body and lean forward a bit to bring your instincts and your intuition to the moment. It's almost as if you're listening to the quietest sound inside yourself, to the voice that's having a hard time being heard. Unlike flowing sadness, flowing fear has a forward, listening, sensing capacity that helps you interact with your environment and other people. If you can rely on fear's calm, listening, sensing stance, it will help you read people and situations empathetically. It's a wonderful emotion, but all of them are. They're an amazing toolkit full of magic, which is why it's so absurd that we've been taught to distrust our emotions. Learning to trust and honorably channel our emotions, to hear them, to feel them, to attend to them, and to converse with them is the central skill of our empathetic practice. But in order to achieve this little level of emotional agility, we've got to be able to understand emotions in their flowing states, in their mood states, and in what I call their raging rapid states. To do this, we'll need some tools and some ground beneath us. We're going to, as we're going through our daily lives, arguing with family members, being slowed down at work or school by interpersonal conflicts, seeking to deepen our relationships, learning to support our loved ones emotionally, discovering our true selves and finding our true paths, we need some tangible emotional tools. We need a way to identify our emotions, to understand them, to begin to begin to learn the language so that we can communicate with them empathetically instead of being at their mercy or treating them cruelly. Therefore, we've got to look deeply into accepted wisdom about the emotions, and we've got to clear away the nonsense that threatens to stupefy us. In order to do that, we've got to bring in unusual, empathetic information. This is where the fun begins.